Welcome to episode 105 of your CySA Plus Prepcast. In today's session, we'll be exploring the cyber kill chain framework, an essential model for understanding and countering cyber attacks. The cyber kill chain breaks down attacks into sequential stages, helping security teams visualize the attacker's process from initial reconnaissance through to exploitation and beyond. With this knowledge, cybersecurity professionals are better equipped to identify, detect, and disrupt attacks before significant damage occurs. This episode will give you the insight to strengthen your defensive strategies and is especially valuable as you prepare for the CySA Plus certification exam. Let's begin with the foundational definition. The cyber kill chain was developed by Lockheed Martin and has become a widely adopted model in the cybersecurity industry. It provides a structured method for analyzing and tracking cyber attacks by categorizing them into distinct stages. These stages represent the logical progression an attacker follows when executing an intrusion. By mapping out this sequence, defenders can identify specific opportunities to detect and interrupt the attack before it escalates into a serious breach or operational disruption. The first stage is reconnaissance. In this phase, attackers gather intelligence about the target organization to identify weak points. They collect data on publicly exposed systems, employee contact information, domain names, third-party vendors, and infrastructure details. This intelligence allows them to plan their attack more precisely. Analysts must remember that reconnaissance often occurs long before any malicious activity is visible within the internal environment, making proactive defenses particularly challenging, yet vitally important. During reconnaissance, attackers often leverage open-source intelligence, or OSINT. This includes publicly available data found on websites, press releases, social media platforms, technical forums, and regulatory filings. Attackers may use tools to passively scan network ranges, analyze DNS records, and uncover configuration details exposed in Internet indexing services. The objective is to build a detailed profile without alerting the target organization. As defenders, the goal is to reduce the amount of information that attackers can easily access. Once reconnaissance is complete, attackers move into the weaponization stage. Here, they create tailored payloads designed to exploit specific weaknesses identified during reconnaissance. These payloads may include malware, exploit kits, malicious documents, or scripts. Weaponization is an internal attacker activity, meaning it typically does not leave observable artifacts in the target environment at this stage. Analysts should focus on upstream controls like patching and system hardening to disrupt this stage preemptively. The third stage is delivery. This is when attackers transmit their weaponized payloads to the target environment. Common delivery mechanisms include phishing emails, drive-by downloads, infected USB drives, compromised websites, and malicious email attachments. The goal is to introduce the payload into the network without triggering detection. At this stage, defenders have the opportunity to block attacks using email filters, DNS firewalls, browser isolation, and secure web gateway. Training users to recognize suspicious content also plays a critical role. Once delivery is successful, the attack enters the exploitation stage. In this phase, the payload is executed, often by exploiting a specific vulnerability in the target system. This could involve exploiting an unpatched software flaw, abusing macros in documents, or triggering remote code execution. The purpose is to gain an initial foothold in the environment. This is a key detection opportunity for security teams using endpoint detection tools, host intrusion prevention systems, and application sandboxing technologies. The fifth stage is installation. Attackers establish persistence by installing malware, remote access trojans, keyloggers, or backdoors. This persistence allows them to maintain access over time, even if the system is rebooted or the initial infection vector is closed. During installation, they may also make system modifications, disable logging, or create new user accounts. Analysts must be vigilant in monitoring system changes, tracking file integrity, and verifying unusual registry modifications or startup scripts. Following installation is the command and control, or C2 stage. At this point, attackers set up communication with their compromised hosts. They use this communication channel to send instructions, exfiltrate data, or upload additional payloads. C2 traffic may be obfuscated, encrypted, or tunneled through common ports to avoid detection. Analysts use anomaly detection, DNS logging, and outbound traffic filtering to identify and disrupt these covert communication paths. The final stage of the cyber kill chain is called actions on objectives. This is where the attacker achieves their end goal, whether that's stealing sensitive data, encrypting files for ransom, performing surveillance, or degrading system availability. The specific actions depend on the attacker's motivation, whether financial, political, or ideological. By this stage, the attack has matured and containment becomes more difficult. However, organizations with well-prepared incident response procedures can limit the damage and begin recovery. Understanding the cyber kill chain helps defenders recognize that attacks are not singular events. They are composed of a series of connected actions, each representing a chance to detect or disrupt the adversary. By implementing security controls targeted at each phase, analysts can delay the attacker's progress, reduce their chances of success, and ultimately protect the organization more effectively. The key is early intervention. Stopping attacks at the reconnaissance, delivery, or exploitation stage is far less costly than responding after data has been stolen or systems have been encrypted. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are more security courses on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Once defenders understand the sequential stages of the cyber kill chain, they can begin developing security strategies that specifically disrupt attacks at each of those points. Effective defense doesn't rely on a single tool or control. It requires layered strategies that address the unique characteristics and opportunities of each phase. By aiming to block attackers early in the chain, security teams can reduce the chances of successful exploitation and limit the impact of attempted intrusions. During the reconnaissance stage, defenders focus on minimizing their digital footprint. This includes reducing publicly exposed infrastructure, controlling domain and certificate information, and limiting open-source data available through public sources. Organizations regularly review internet-facing assets using external scanning tools, remove outdated or unused services, and monitor for unauthorized subdomains. Defensive deception strategies, such as honeypots and honey tokens, can also be deployed to mislead and identify reconnaissance activity early without exposing critical systems. At the weaponization stage, defenders reduce risk by hardening internal systems. This means eliminating vulnerabilities through aggressive patch management, enforcing secure configuration baselines, and conducting regular vulnerability assessments. If an attacker cannot find a viable exploit to package with their payload, their ability to weaponize becomes significantly diminished. Development teams should also follow secure coding practices to reduce the availability of weaknesses in custom applications that could be targeted. Delivery is a highly visible stage, and it presents a strong opportunity for interception. Organizations deploy email security gateways to scan attachments and links, use secure email protocols, and apply domain-based authentication, such as SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. Analysts implement web filtering to prevent users from accessing known malicious sites. Endpoints are protected with anti-malware engines, behavior monitoring tools, and sandboxing technology to block payloads before execution. User awareness training further bolsters this layer, helping employees recognize phishing and report suspicious communications promptly. Exploitation prevention hinges on robust endpoint security. Endpoint detection and response tools monitor for suspicious system behaviors such as abnormal memory access, privilege escalation attempts, or unauthorized process execution. Analysts configure web application firewalls to protect against injection and file inclusion attacks on public-facing applications. Regular software testing, secure development practices, and threat modeling also play key roles in eliminating or mitigating vulnerabilities before exploitation becomes possible. Preventing installation requires constant vigilance over system changes. Analysts use host-based intrusion prevention systems, file integrity monitoring tools, and registry auditing mechanisms to detect unauthorized modifications. Application whitelisting can prevent unapproved software from executing. privileged account management tools ensure that users and processes cannot install malware without explicit authorization. These controls help stop adversaries from gaining persistence within compromised environments. During the command and control stage, attackers rely on outbound connections to manage their access and exfiltrate data. Analysts implement strict egress filtering, monitor DNS and HTTP traffic for anomalies, and correlate events across time to detect suspicious communication patterns. Threat intelligence feeds are integrated into detection tools to identify known C2 infrastructure. Advanced firewalls and network behavior analysis platforms play critical roles in isolating compromised systems before damage is done. Actions on objectives is the stage where stakes are highest. If attackers reach this point, data theft, ransomware deployment, or destructive activities may already be in progress. Analysts use data loss prevention solutions, strong access controls, and encryption to protect critical assets. Rapid incident response becomes the most effective tool at this point, limiting what the attacker can accomplish and initiating recovery efforts. Network segmentation, frequent backup testing, and endpoint containment tools are deployed to minimize operational disruption and data loss. To keep their defenses agile, organizations simulate attacks across the kill chain. Threat hunting exercises and red team simulations are mapped to each phase, allowing defenders to test their detection and response capabilities. These exercises provide valuable insight into how quickly teams recognize reconnaissance, how effectively they block delivery, and whether they can respond decisively during the exploitation or installation phases. Simulations reinforce teamwork, reveal gaps in tooling, and inform future defensive investments. Documentation is essential when applying the cyber kill chain framework. Analysts maintain detailed records of observed incidents, mapped kill chain phases, defensive measures taken, and effectiveness of each control. These records inform future threat modeling, influence incident response playbook revisions, and support post-incident analysis. Documentation also enhances communication with executive leadership, regulators, and partners by illustrating how threats were managed and how lessons were incorporated into the organization's broader defense strategy. To conclude, Episode 105, the cyber kill chain is more than a theoretical model. It's a practical framework for understanding how attackers operate and how defenders can strategically stop them. By mapping attacks from reconnaissance through to their end goals, cybersecurity teams gain insight into where they can intervene and what tools or processes are needed. Whether you're responding to real-world attacks or preparing for your certification exam, mastering the kill chain helps you think like an attacker and defend like a strategist. Continue using this framework to build depth into your incident response capabilities and reinforce your role as a proactive defender in the evolving threat landscape. Thanks for listening. To learn more about cybersecurity, please visit baremetalcyber.com. There you will find best-selling books, videos, and even more free cybersecurity training courses. Please subscribe to the Prepcast and our various podcasts. And thanks for listening.